I broke my leg, had a cast on, had it removed, went home, and re-broke the same leg that day.
But when you say re-broke it, like, you was like, oh, give me another cast. I want a different color.
Yeah, let's go with blue this time.
Come easy, cute. My love is pure. Come easy, cute. My love is pure.
Show your love for Taquita Love. Comedy is cure.
Ken Garr. What's up?
Taquita. My boo.
I know, my boo thing. Oh my God. We go way back.
I was talking to your producer. We never met in Chicago. We met out here, right?
No, we did not. The first time I ever met you, believe it or not, was at your apartment, and I dropped Jay Washington off at your place.
Okay.
He came out to visit one, I don't know when it was, years ago.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find your place because it was like hidden somewhere, and I was dropping him off. Uh-huh. And I don't know if I actually went in, but I think he was like, you need to meet Ken. Like he's dope, from Chicago, comedian from Chicago. And I believe I met you that time. Maybe you came down.
Okay.
And then after that point, it was one of those things where, like, since I know Jay, then I know you, and it became one of those things. I'm like, well, if you cool with Jay, then and fast forward, when you moved out of that apartment, I was like, hey, I need that place.
You live in my old apartment now.
I live in your old apartment. And that's how we bonded, because I was like, yo, you got some mail over here.
Yep. Every once in a while, I get a text with a picture of a piece of mail.
Like, you want this? You want me to open this?
Yeah.
You be like, throw that shit away. Or I'll bring it over.
Yeah. Is it from a creditor? You can get rid of it.
Yeah, that's how it is. From that moment on, you've just been like, I don't know how we called each other boo, but
I don't either.
You was like my boo for some reason, and how that happened through Jay.
Yeah, Jay slept on my couch for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
he's like, "Hey, fam, can I stay out on your couch?" I'm like, "Yeah," and then like 2 weeks later, I'm like, "Bro, you gotta go."
He did that to me, and I was like, "No, I'm good."
Because there's only one bathroom, and it was in the bedroom.
That apartment is the smallest.
It's so tiny.
I have a dog. I live in a very small one bedroom in Burbank. And I have a dog, and my dog is pissed at the space.
Oh, yeah.
Because he be like, when you leaving?
Yeah.
So
it's not technically a studio, but you can vacuum from one point.
Yeah.
You don't have to move.
Yeah.
But every morning there would be this gigantic black dude coming in my bedroom door at like 7 a.m. Like, what is? Oh, Jay's here.
Yeah. Shout out Jay Washington, who's a comedian, and also my family, my cousin.
That's our boy.
He was the connecting piece for us.
Yeah.
Period. That's it. And then the rest was history.
But we started like we were doing mics together, do shows together. You've had me on your show out in Flappers.
Yeah. But I just remember him being like how I met you.
Yeah.
And then I realized that you were that dude. You feel me? Like, I was just like because you were back, you had all the Chicago connects, but then you were also in LA, and you just came and just made a way for yourself in LA. Yeah,
I just approached. So I was doing stand up in Chicago for about 10 years, and I had a full-time job the whole time. Like, I was working at NASDAQ. The stock exchange.
Okay.
That was my last job before I went like pro.
Okay.
And so I was in sales for many years, and then I was doing stand up like every weekend. I used all my PTO, all my days off to go do stand up. Work the road. I was a road dog for like 10 years, but I always had that day job. I had to have that security.
Yeah,
and then
that's
finally,
me.
And then finally I got fired from NASDAQ, kind of on purpose, and I left Chicago because I talked to a buddy of mine, and I'm like, I'm gonna do stand up full time. He's like, well, he's like, you've already accomplished everything you can accomplish in Chicago. He's like, so go to LA or New York.
Yeah.
And I came out to LA. I was gonna come out here. I had a little bit of money in my pocket, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna come out to LA for 2 weeks, and then I'll go to New York 2 weeks, and I'll make a decision. Well, I came out to LA, and I went like hiking on Runyon and like saw the girls and saw the weather. And I was just like, and I remember I was looking down into like Beverly Hills, and Fresh Prince Bel Air came on. The song came on, and I was just like, I'm gonna move to LA. This is where I need to be. I'm tired of that Chicago weather.
So you never went to New York?
I never did.
I love New York, but that weather is crazy.
Oh
my God, I'm done with the weather.
Yeah, once you've lived in this climate for a while, you're like, that's it.
Yeah, you're like, I'll just sacrifice everything.
Yeah.
For for a hike,
right?
And the drive to the beach and the drive to the mountain.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what was your comedy journey like? I know you've been a comedian for, is it 20 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 decades.
Yeah, so my journey started. I saw a friend of mine do stand up, and I thought, well, I could do that. And it was open mic at Riddle's Comedy Club in Chicago.
Oh, dang, way back in the day.
Yeah, the old one though. When at the time, D. Ray Davis had a show on Monday nights, and he would actually fly in from L.A. and do his show. And so I used to go to that show all the time.
I used to go all the time too.
Really?
With my cousins. It
Oh,
was like
that's-
we would go like just because we loved comedy, and that was a
yeah.
place to pick up dudes.
Yeah. I was the nervous white guy in the back, watching all these great comics. But yeah, I saw a friend of mine do stand up, and so then I went to Second City and I got some improv training, and then I started doing stand up with these dudes from Tony and Tina's Wedding. You remember Tony and Tina's Wedding? So all those actors were doing stand up at a bar across the street. And one day I was talking to them. They're like, come do stand up. My very first stand up open mic was at Riddle's Comedy Club in Orland. And then it moved. But, and it's on, like, I have it on VHS tape.
Shut up.
Yeah. My first set. Yeah.
I want to ask you, like, did you start in urban rooms?
No, well, I started actually in Latino rooms.
Okay.
So Mikey O, who's a big producer in Chicago.
That's who you hooked me up with.
Yeah.
He was like, was it the pizza place where he has the show?
Joe's on Weed
Yes.
Street. Yeah, it's a country bar, right? But he started this Latino show about, and it's not even fair to call it that because he's all about diversity, right? So I always joke that I was the white guy in Mikey O's show.
Okay.
And so, but he put Latino comedy on the map in Chicago. He actually produced my last 2 specials, and he's just been an absolutely amazing dude. But he throws these shows and there's like 400 people and it's like sold out and people are getting turned away.
No,
and
you connected me to one of his shows. I did his show when I don't want to say when I first started, but when I was able to do comedy outside of LA.
Yeah.
And you were like, tell him Ken, you hooked it up. And I was like, Ken that dead. I wanted to call you the N-word, but I couldn't. I was like, Ken that. No. So Mikey O.
Latino rooms and just like every other comic, you just do sets wherever you can go.
Yep.
But my path was a little bit different, right? Because I had that day job and I was married. Like I just did stand up for fun.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my now ex-wife that I'm never going to do stand up full time. Like this is just for fun. I just like enjoy it. But then like the longer you do it, the better you get and the more work you get. And then finally like that scale tips.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I got to give this a shot. And when I got fired from NASDAQ, I was like, all right, I'll give it a year. And then I gave it a year. I was like, all right, I'll give it till I'm 40. And then I turned 40 and I didn't even blink an eye. I'm like, I'm just going to keep going, because this is what I want to do, you know?
And you're so funny.
Oh, thank you.
Look, like, so we started taping late, right? And you were like, yeah, I got the email and I responded and I signed the release and I was here on time. I'm like, but it's just like, you have perfect timing, period. But also, like, when I watch you perform, like, I got to see you perform in Vegas when Daphne Springs was there. And I saw you, like, in LA, we get to see, like, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. But I saw you feature. Yeah. And I think that was the first time that I saw you, like, do work. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, yo, I'm that, like, again, the N-word, but I'm not going to call you that. but so, like, when I saw that, like, it just clicked at how good you were.
Oh, thank you.
And how, like, I don't know, it's something that, like, you don't see until you see it.
Right.
And it was like, dang, like, he is, like, I don't want to say more than what Hollywood gives you credit for, because that might be, No,
I get that.
But it was just one of those things, like, I knew you were funny.
Yeah.
But I didn't see you stretch.
Right.
And when I saw that, I was like, yo, for real.
Thank
like,
you.
how did, like, the evolution of, like, starting with Mikey O. And then I know you're at improv all the time.
Yeah.
And then getting to, like, you said you filmed the second special recently.
Yeah. So I approached this when I left the corporate world. I took, I was in sales for 13 years and I took everything that I learned in sales into show business with me. Okay. Right? And so, like, every day I was getting up and not only was I writing, but, like, I was, like, marketing myself. I was cold calling. I was, like, ask, you are an entrepreneur as a stand-up comic, and it's show business.
Yeah.
And so I treat it every day as a business, especially if I'm going to be away from my family. I have 14 nieces and nephews. I've missed a lot of birthdays. And so like, and don't get me wrong, I did this for me. I'm not one of these comics like, I'm doing it for my family. No, I'm doing it for me. But if I'm going to sacrifice all this time and all this, like these events with my family, like I wanted to make it worth it. So I made sure that I got up every day and I was working toward it. But like, I mean, the way I got good was just like, just really working hard and like work, like I'm like one of those guys, like if you see like football players, like they're watching tape and they're like, oh, I got to change this, I got to move that around. Like that's me. Like I look at stand up as like a quarterback in the NFL. Like I've got to like, okay, I got to move my foot there. I got to do, for me, it's like that detailed.
Meticulous, yeah.
And so when I get these like people all the time, we all do like, oh, I thought about doing stand up. I'm like, at first they used to like, oh, you should sign up for an open mic. And now I'm like, you can't. Yeah. You can't do this.
It's
like,
it's the work ethic.
Yeah, it is.
I always say, and I didn't learn this until maybe like, I want to say maybe like until like 10 years in, which is very recent, that all the work really happens off stage.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the networking, it's the booking shows.
Yeah.
It's the actual looking at my tape, seeing what I said. Did it hit? Did it not hit?
Yeah.
Were they receptive? Can I try it in 10 rooms and see if the same joke hits the same? Like, it's like all these little details that people don't realize. And when you say like NFL, like literally, that is the thought process. Like that is like the work ethic that I like to go by. Because I was at Haha and I saw David A. Arnold, rest in peace, Kevin Hart, Damon Wayans, and then also Damon Wayans Jr. I saw them do a show.
It's a pretty good show.
Yeah, I don't think, and Chris Spencer was there. I don't think everybody. Pretty good show. I don't think everybody was performing, but they were watching somebody. I think Damon Wayans was taping or like working on something, and literally when they got off stage, when I think Damon Wayans got off stage, everybody went to a circle at the old Haha. Yeah. And they talked about what worked, what didn't work. I think Chris Spencer just yelled stuff out on why he was on stage. Like, do this or try it like that. And that's the work that, like, I think that's what it takes to make people great.
100%.
But we don't see that work.
No.
We just see the outcome. Because when I saw you do that for, I don't know how long, 35 or. Yeah. When I was like, damn.
But you know what's funny is so I'm not dropping a name, but I got to open for Charlie Murphy, rest in peace, years ago at the Chicago Improv, and he walked out to a standing ovation. Right, that was like right after Chappelle ended, and he was hot, and I was standing and he went out and did his thing, and he came off stage, and I go, man, that's awesome. He came out to a standing O. He's like, I got 2 minutes to be funny. I go, what you mean? He's like, I got 2 minutes. After that, he's like, they don't give a shit. If I'm Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy, they don't care. He's like, you got to be funny. Yeah. And then he sat down in between shows and wrote and did his notes. And here I am with a full-time job going like, oh, I'll write some material next month. Oh, I'll get to it. Like just kind of gliding. And I'm like, oh, that's what it takes. Like in between every set, right? Sebastian Maniscalco, I got to open for him at the Irvine Improv. And right before the show, he noticed that there's an umami burger connected. He goes, I got an umami burger joke. He goes, I did it 4 years ago. And he looked up on his phone, and then he listened to that joke. But he knew exactly where the joke was, what set it was, and then he did that joke like 10 minutes later. And I was like blown away by that, because it's like that's the level of detail that this craft takes. Yeah. And that's the kind of work ethic. No, they don't understand it. It's just like any other job, plumber, firefighter, like whatever. It's like there's a certain skill set that this takes. It takes talent too, but like it takes a certain skill set and more importantly, a work ethic. Yeah. I got up this morning and wrote for 2 hours. Amen. Yeah, because it's like there's like there's other guys behind me trying to get my spots. Yeah. This is a loving community, but it's also competitive. Yeah. And there's more comedians now than there ever have been ever in the history of the world, in my opinion. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
I like to call us all cousins. Yeah. Or it's like we cousins where we are part of the same family. We don't all get along, but we just in the same family. So right. Like I might want what you got, but or vice versa. But it's a good community to be in.
It is.
What is your biggest accomplishment as a stand-up comedian so far?
I mean, obviously, I've gotten to record 2 specials, and like that's in a way like that's my legacy, you know, like no matter what, like I'm leaving that behind.
Yeah.
You know, so to me they're very special, no pun intended. But you know, this year I was the first comedian to perform in Saudi Arabia, first American comedian to perform in Saudi Arabia publicly in 3 years since COVID. And like that was cool. Like it was cool to like, you know, go from like the south side of Chicago to like I'm in Saudi Arabia now. You know, and like somebody put it best. Like somebody said to me, actually it was Carmen Morales, a great comedian. She goes, comedians are poor people that get to do rich people shit.
Yeah. I think that's a great quote because
I love it.
Everybody's like, all the comedians I know that's like, they're like, they got to travel because they did comedy.
Yeah.
And then it's like the hotels and it's like, they putting me up and they got a car service person waiting for me when I get off. And I'm just like, that is a good way.
Yeah.
All we got to do is get a 10-minute set together.
That's it. And this sounds really bad, but like, you know, I used to be like, oh, I don't care about fame and fortune. And to a point, I don't. I just want to pay my bills. But like, I love it when people open doors for me. Yeah. It's so, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's here, you know, like, and I treat everybody with respect and kindness, and I'm polite and I'm humble. But like, just to have somebody like, oh, he's on stage now. He's, you know, to open the door. I'm like, when I got to go to Iraq and we had like a security team, you know, and they're like opening car doors and they got the earpieces, and I'm like, this is legit.
Like I could get used to this. And then you get off the plane to LAX and be like, who picking me up?
I just turn on my Uber app and give somebody else a ride home for $40.
I want to thank you first off because the people you've connected me to, I want to thank you for that because like it's just one thing from being from Chicago. You got the shy hat on. I'm just like, I don't know if it's like we just got to like hold each other down. But I am very, very, very grateful that you like would speak highly of me and to people that have never met me. An example would be the play that I'm doing. I'm doing like an opening act for 5 minutes, but I'm just like, they were like, Ken Garr referred you. I was like, my white boy. He still love me even though he married again.
Of course. You know, it's like you said, like we're cousins. We got to look out for each other. And every opportunity that I have gotten is because another comedian vouched for me or referred me or brought me with them. And so like anytime, you know, that I'm not a good fit and I know that there is somebody that's a good fit, like, and trust me, you know, and you know, because you know, vouching for somebody it's a lot to ask. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, there's very few comics that I do vouch for, but, like, I think you're great. I think you're funny. I know you're professional. I know you're not going to be dramatic. You know, there ain't going to be no drama. You know, like, you're going to do the job. And that's why I never have a problem referring you, because I know that I'm never going to hear back, like, we got to talk to you about Taquita.
So, you know, my background's nursing. So I always like to talk to comedians and see if they have any like crazy medical stories or any like unexpected trips to the emergency room.
I don't know if you knew this about me. So I have osteogenesis imperfecta.
I didn't know that about you.
You did or did not?
No, I did not.
Yeah. So
you was like, she called me because she know I got something. And I'm like, I didn't know.
So if for you guys that don't know, osteogenesis imperfecta is the brittle bone disease that Samuel L. Jackson had in Unbreakable.
Okay.
So I have brittle bones. I've broken 40 bones, mostly when I was a kid. But yeah, now most kids that have this, maybe you've seen the commercials for Shriners. They're usually in wheelchairs. They've got dwarfism. You know, there's different types, and I've got the most moderate type. I got the most moderate type of bone disease, and I still broke 40 bones. But yeah, so I got it from my mom, and my mom got it from her dad, so it's genetic.
Is it autorecessive or?
I don't know what that means.
Okay. I was just like, I know a word that got something to do with genetics, so let me just throw that out
yes,
there.
Yes, it is autorecessive. But I got it from my mom. She got it from her dad, and so yeah. But yeah, so every time I go. Like, if I go to the hospital, like, we just need to take a brief medical history. I'm like, there ain't nothing brief about my medical history.
So how did, so it's something that it just, you knew, like.
I broke my first bone when I think I was 3 months old.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I broke a leg. And then I continued to break my legs. I had leg braces when I was a kid.
That's such a bad thing. I mean, like in my brain, I'm like, so when people say go break a leg when you go on stage, you be like, don't say that.
Yeah, please, like knock on wood.
No, not today. It'll happen.
Yeah, but yeah, I had leg braces because my legs were growing misformed, and so they wanted to make sure that they were nice and straight. I was a patient at Shriners Hospital in Oak Park.
Okay.
Where they specialized in kids with OI. I have volunteered for the last few years at the Shriners here in Los Angeles to kind of give back.
Okay.
But yeah, I had 7 surgeries. Both my elbows have metal in them. I have scoliosis, so I have metal rods keeping my back in place.
I did not know.
Yeah, I don't really talk about it a lot because
Yeah.
people can get weird.
Yeah.
You know
So
what I mean?
when do you experience a lot of pain from these broken bones, or
Oh,
is
yeah.
it just a part of I know it's like
Now what happened was, and I'm very fortunate, but like once I got my driver's license and I kind of quit being as active, you know what I mean? Like I quit playing, tag football. I quit playing flag. Like I stopped doing a lot of crazy
Contact
athletics,
sports.
contact stuff. Then I've been very lucky that the last 20 years, other than a finger here and there, I haven't had a lot of fractures. But when I was a kid, it was mostly when I was a kid, and I try to like eat right and work out and keep my bones strong and do the I take calcium, all those things. People always say that to me, like, have you tried calcium? I'm like, I didn't think about that. Like,
I was gonna be like, I think it's vitamin D and calcium. They go.
yeah, I
together.
take a vitamin D calcium supplement,
Okay.
but this is a collagen deficiency.
Okay.
So it's like there's a protein in your body where your bones actually turn over, right? So they're constantly adding new bone.
Okay.
And mine goes so fast that it never grows all the way.
Okay.
So your bones end up being a little bit thinner. But I get bone scans every once in a while, and the last person told me that he wouldn't even have known that I had a bone disease if I hadn't told him.
Okay.
But we got little things like the whites of my eyes are blue. You
Okay.
get little telltale signs when you have it.
Okay.
But
So
yeah.
how do you manage it?
Just being proactive, right?
Okay.
So you like when people walk down the street with me, you'll notice that I'm always looking down, right? And it sounds so silly, but like I gotta literally like look where I'm gonna put my feet.
Yeah, make sure you don't fall.
Right, because if I fall like a normal human being, they get up, they brush themselves off. If I fall, it's like, what happened? What snapped?
And it could be just that fast,
Just
and
that fast.
severe.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so for me, I try to be proactive with vitamins, supplements. Working out is a huge thing, even though I'm not like a buff dude, but muscle is actually what strengthens bone. And so I try to lift weights and just try to be proactive. But more important than anything, people ask me, you want to play some basketball? You want to play tennis? You want to play football? I'm like, I don't do any of that anymore.
Oh.
I don't ski. I don't ice skate. I don't, you know what I mean? And I
Okay.
don't really feel like I miss out because,
Okay.
for me, it's like, I would rather have my health
Right.
than these medical issues that come up, But yeah, I got I've got early onset art. This is extremely this is how fun is this podcast?
I don't know.
I got arthritis.
What? No, I have arthritis. I can't even bend my wrist. I have arthritis too.
Yeah.
Carpal tunnel.
But in my hips, my back, my neck, it's starting.
So what are you doing for that?
I go to a massage therapist that specializes in like the I can't ever say this, musculoskeletal.
Yeah, you got
right.
it, yeah.
And so her expertise is in dealing with people that have like arthritis and stuff like that. She's not just like a massage envy person. She
Okay.
she has not that those people don't know how to do it, but you know what I'm saying,
They'll break a bone.
yeah. So
Oh.
so that's my medical thing. Fun.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I wanted to I don't know. That seems like it could lend so many stories. Is there a worse fracture than the rest?
Yeah, like anytime you break your legs. So I've broken my femur, right? And that's the biggest bone in your body.
And how did that happen?
Oh, I was on a tricycle or something, and my leg got wrapped around the wheel. You know what I mean? And it just snaps. I mean, it was like that easy back then,
Oh, wow.
And I remember I broke my leg, and then whenever you break a bone, they put a cast on for like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, right? And then they take an X-ray, and then they look and see if the bone healed.
Yes.
And if the bone healed, they take the cast off. Well, I broke my leg, had a cast on, had it removed, went home, and re-broke the same leg that day.
But when you say re-broke
Comedy.
it, like you was like, oh, give me another cast. I want a different color.
Yeah, let's go with blue this time.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so crazy because you would never know like what people go through.
Right,
Yeah, like
I was in the Special Olympics, in the Junior Special
Oh, for
Olympics.
real?
Yeah. Yeah, because they didn't mess around in the 80s, boy.
Oh,
I
man.
talk about this in my act. I go, if you had anything wrong with you in the 80s,
go
off to
ahead.
the Jane Neal School for the Handicap. I'm like, I'm fine. Like, nope, go over there. Put your helmet on.
you had to wear a helmet.
No.
Because I know that's the I'm like, damn. I'm like, what else happened? So, okay, can you tell when you broke something?
Oh, yeah. You ever broke a bone?
I broke my pinky toe.
Okay.
And that
But
that took me out. I was like, it took me out.
That's one of the worst breaks.
And I was drunk when it happened. So
Oh.
it was like one of those
So you
things
woke up
where
the next day and
I
you
woke
forgot?
up, it was like, the pain was bad when it happened. But of course it was like sustainable because I'm like, but then when I wore off, I was like, damn.
When you hit, first of all, breaking your pinky toe is one of the most painful breaks you can do. I broke it one time. Me and my brother were roughhousing, and I ran after him and hit my pinky toe on the edge of the door frame and broke that little, And then you're just wearing flip flops for the next 6 weeks because you can't fit that in a shoe.
Are you a frequent flyer? Like, are you hospitalized a lot?
No, when I was so basically what happens is I'd break a bone. And then I'd go to Shriners, and then they put a cast on, and then I'd go back home.
Okay.
I was in the hospital when I had my back surgery and then my hip surgery, and then my elbows. I broke both my elbows off, like they came off. So
And
they had
this
to
was how, like, I know you say that it's easy for them to break, but like, is it like I bumped into something and then it happened, or like how extreme?
It's like. Because of me being proactive, it has to be pretty extreme.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But forever, like I was afraid of like airbags because airbags go off at like 800 pounds of pressure or something like, and I'm afraid I can break my face. You know what I mean? But
I'm so in shock. I've never I'm just like, damn.
I know I don't talk. Like I said, I don't talk really about it a lot because you talk about it, and I think that lended to like where I became a comedian because like I talked about it a lot in like grammar school, and I got picked on a little bit, but like I developed a sense of humor to combat the kind of the bullying, And so like I just like was like, hey, if I can be the funny guy in class, then I'm not going to be the different kid that's always on the sidelines of gym class. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like it's a gift, really, and I wouldn't change anything because like it gave me my sense of humor, which ultimately led to giving me my career, and so I'm really blessed, to have broken 40 bones.
I'm like, how many? I know we have that many bones in our bodies, but it's just like the fact that you probably know more about like the bones than anybody.
Yeah.
A lot of the guests that I've had, like I've learned so much about them, like the struggles that they have outside of just living life. It's like, no, I got to do this and I got to take care of this and this is what I'm dealing with. But I get up and I get on stage every day and I perform and I live my dream. Like it's just like one of those things where it's like, who can like have a reason to not do what they want to do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like,
and it kind of delayed, my progress because I started with like, Hannibal and T.J. Miller and like all these guys that are like famous now. I started at the same time as them, but in my mind, I always had to have that day job to have health insurance.
Yeah.
And like, because I didn't want like if I fall down and I'm out of work, then I have no money coming in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now, with Obamacare and like all that stuff, and now I'm married, I'm on my wife's program, but like before it was like, Obamacare was a big deal because it allowed me to like have an affordable health insurance plan. And it gave me that peace of mind of like, okay, I can go out and do this thing without having to have this day job that I was reliant on.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Obama.
That's our guy. Chicago. Chi-town.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's dope to see like the obstacles that people overcome, and you included, like to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And your specials out.
Yeah.
And what's your ultimate goal?
I think my ultimate goal is to just be a professional comedian. And I don't know if that is like selling myself short, but I quit drinking about 6 years ago. I'm a sober guy, and quitting drinking, not only did it help my bones, but like it also helped me to kind of realize that living in the moment is the most important thing you can do, because you never know when your time is up. Yeah. Right. And so for me, I like to live in the moment, and if I can pay my bills, if I get to do the thing that I love, and I get to travel the world, like I'm happy. Yeah. And I see a lot of comedians, especially young comedians, that like they get burnt out, or they're bitter, or they're angry. And I've had those moments. I had those moments that the other night. I had that moment about why aren't I getting this, and that? Because we have that, because we're human. But for me, my goals are to like enjoy my life. I got married 2 years ago to my beautiful wife. I love hanging with her. Yes. I have the perfect job. I get to travel. Yeah. I got no debt. I got money in the bank. I'm happy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And do I want to do stadiums and all? Every comic would love to do that. But like the fact that I'm sitting here as a full-time comedian who makes all of his money doing what he loves, like that's a gift. Blessing. Yeah. It's a blessing. It really is, because it's rare. And I don't take any of that for granted. So for me, my goal is to always be present and to like really enjoy my life, because there was a long time that I didn't enjoy my life. Yeah. I added it up one time, and I had a cast on my body where I was in some type of splint or whatever for 5 years of my life. You know what I'm saying? That's five. When you add it all, when you aggregate it all, it was 5 years of my life I had some type of splint or cast, or I had to go to physical therapy. I had to you know what I'm saying? So for me, it was just like every day is a blessing. Yeah. And I don't want to get burnt out trying to like chase likes and this and that. And then, I don't know the first thing about social media, but I do what I have to do to like put myself out there. But you know what? I don't have an agent or a manager, but my calendar is full. Yeah. And I get to travel the world. I'm going to Dubai again. I'm going to the Middle East. I was in, where was I? I was in Hawaii last week. I got flown out around Christmas to go to a corporate in Bahamas. Yeah. We live great lives. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm doing it. My goal is to keep doing it. Yeah. That's what's up. So I'm like a little bit more than half of where you've been in comedy. Do you remember your 10-year mark? And like, what was it like? Yeah, because that's when I moved to LA. Yeah. Okay. So for me, what's interesting is that like coming to LA, my very first show was in the Flappers Yoo-Hoo room, and I had to follow Damon Wayans. Follow him. And I was just like, oh no, what have I gotten myself into? And Chicago taught me like how to be funny, but LA taught me how to be a comedian. You know, make sense? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like Chicago has an amazing comedy scene, but out here, when you start working with that level of talent, you're like, I got to go back home tonight and write, because I'm not. I get it. When you see somebody like a Damon Wayans or like Martin or like any of these guys that are huge, you're like, oh, I get it now. Like that's that level that I need to get at. I think the fact that we live in LA and we get to like get on stages and get all, like be in the same room, like Dave Chappelle just got off stage, that gives us like, we get to see like, I think it's more in our face, like what it could be if we did the work. Right. Yeah. I followed Bill Burr one night at the Ha-Ha, and I crushed, and I just was like, I got overcome with emotion on the way home, because it was just such like, it felt like this validation, like you can do this. Yeah. And it gives you that confidence. And I'm not saying that you can't get that in other cities or in other comedy scenes. You certainly can get that, but like to follow like the best in the world, who you consider to be one of the best in the world, and hold your own, like, all right, like that buys me another 3 months here, right? You know and I'm just like, I'm just so happy he spoke to me in the green room, right? It's just like, I took a picture with Bill Burr tonight, right? Like, it's amazing. I think it gives us a grind too. It does. I think because when I go home to Chicago, I feel like I rest. Even though I'm on stage, I feel like there's a rest component. Yeah.
And then out here, it's like you feel like I gotta go. Like there's this, but it's like fast paced.
Yeah.
And everybody's working on their dream.
Yeah.
No one's just like, I'm putting the kids to bed and I'm, getting up and going for coffee. Everybody's like, like I'm doing this, I'm writing on this, I got a meeting with this person. And you get here and then you feel like, like I got to jump back in a rat race.
Yeah. But I also tell comedians, especially because we've lost so many people this year, like David and like take a breath.
Yeah.
And just know that it's okay. That you like, there's something to be said about having a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
But my thing is now working smarter and not harder.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, for me, the things that I can control are how often I write and how long I write, and how often I can get that new material on stage and get it crafted.
Yeah.
All these other things are just like, it's luck.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? So, there's certain things that you can do. I know Kevin Hart, you have those famous stories of him getting email addresses and building lists and like, he grinds and he's like that. He is the very definition of work ethic. But I've seen so many people, whether it's drugs or whatever, taking their own lives. Like, you look at these people and you're like, man, this guy's got everything. And then he takes his life and you're just like, so
happiness.
Enjoy it.
And peace.
Like enjoy enjoy this talent that God's given you, and like take it, because I see a lot of these guys just burn out, and girls, and it's just like it's sad, it's heartbreaking, because like at the end of the day, this is supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
it is.
Yep.
That's
it is for me. I love it.
Good. Now quit your job. No.
Y'all gonna you and Jen gonna let me come sleep on y'all couch?
Yeah. I'll explain to my wife. Taquita's gonna stay here for a while. The hell
She's
is
trying
she
to figure it out.
Yeah.
She's trying to figure it out. And I got a dog too. It'll be nuts.
We'll have 3 dogs in the apartment.
Blue don't play.
No.
Blue be in there fighting. Blue be hood.
Oh, I know. I see Blue on Instagram. You out there with that attitude.
That's a Chicago in him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm from the streets too.
Sleeping under cars.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you? I guess right here to camera too.
I'm at Garr Was Taken. KENGARR Was Taken. I got a new special. It's on YouTube and on Amazon Prime. YouTube, it's free, but if you want to support, it's on Amazon Prime as well. It's called American Hero. It's about my time visiting Afghanistan and all the way up until the pandemic. It came out in July. It's been doing great. And but yeah, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Garr Was Taken. And KenGarr.com for upcoming tour dates.
Tony's a cute, my love is pure. Tony's a cute, my love is pure.
Show your love for Taquita Love. Comedy is cure.
So as always, you want this. I had one dude was like, hey, do you think you could bring a brother the clear machine home? Oh, the clear machine. He was like, yeah, ma, the reviver. Clear.